my brother's has been working on trying to get some solo training for judo and jiu-jitsu, and trying to get into grappling and this type of thing. And grappling is one of those things that is really, really hard to solo train with. But I did come across a method that is effective. So here we go. And all I have here is I just have an old jacket. Now this one happens to have a loop for the hanging loop, okay? And you just thread the hanger through that and just have a dumb old hanger, alright? Now you want to make sure that you've buttoned and zipped it all the way, okay? And then you just go to the wall and you have a nail, you know, and you want the jacket to be about your height, maybe a little bit taller than what I have here. It's not quite tall enough for me, but that's up to you. Just deal with the height. And then what you can do is then you can have a folding chair. I don't really have a folding chair, I've got a folding stool, so I just use that. And you can either prop it up against the wall like I have here, and then have two shoes at the bottom to simulate feet, okay? Now with the jacket, of course, you could tie a pair of gloves, a pair of old gloves on the ends if you wanted more realism. But this gives you kind of a training dummy, really, if you will. And you can think of, well, these are the feet, so the knees would be here, so the hips would be here, so then the shoulders, right, head, right? Okay, so now this will give you a way of training and kind of a training dummy to use. Alright, so when you're coming in, one of the very basic grip of judo, the first one that you're going to get used to and the first one that you train with is called the normal grip. And basically it's the left hand on a sleeve, right hand on the lapel. Now you're going to practice coming in from here. So I can come in for double arm shoulder throw this way, okay? This method is best for training on coming into techniques and entry of techniques. Not necessarily execution, because, well, it is what it is. So it does have its limits, but it can be done. Another one that you can train is coming in for koshiguruma, right? Now, obviously a folding chair would be better because you would have more width so that you can practice getting in between your opponent's feet. This is a crucial point in any throws. You're going to want it is foot placement. But with a wider folding chair, it would be easier to get in between your opponent's feet. But I'm working with what I got here, guys, so here we go. But if I'm coming in for a koshiguruma, this will allow me to practice coming in around the neck. Or if I'm wanting to go practice for Soto Makukomi, I can do that right here, okay? If I want to practice Soto-guruma, okay, it allows me to do that. Okay? So I can literally come from here. Okay? Alright. So there's a bunch of throwing techniques that you can deal with from here. Okay? But the idea is that with each one, you're practicing your entry. Okay? Another thing that this is good for is you can assume, or you can pantomime, the jacket's throwing a punch at me. Okay? So it throws the punch, and I block. Okay? I block and grab. So it's throwing the punch, I'm blocking, grabbing, striking to the elbow joint here, and then striking to the head. Okay? So this is an easy technique for you to get used to, is to boom, boom, boom. Okay? So it's boom, boom, boom. Okay? You can also use that same thing to work to the inside. So is throwing a punch, and you're striking the elbow joint, striking to the head right here, just firing it back, so that when that punch comes, boom, boom, here, then you can throw the elbow if you want. Okay? But the idea is that it gets you used to entry and throwing strikes as you enter. Okay, so boom, 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 right? So it gives you that ability. If you wanted to practice like your knee well throws, you're going to step off to the side, put the foot on the knee, and pull. Okay. Now, obviously, once I get to start the pull with the right hand, I'm going to let go of the lapel, because I don't want to throw the jacket on the floor, because then I'll have to pick it up again. But the idea of boom, okay, boom, or I can do a foot stomp. Okay. But all of those can be done using this method. Okay. So the idea is that just because you don't have a training partner doesn't mean that you can't train, and doesn't mean that you can't learn. The other thing that's great about this is it really gives you a chance to even code a gauge. Okay, so let's say Jack is shaking my hand, right? I can practice going into a code gauge straight away. Okay, so I can really practice the code gauge. I can even practice the cut versions, okay, with the code gauge, where I'm cutting to the wrist, where I'm cutting to the elbow, where I'm cutting to the neck. Okay. It also is a decent dummy for focus drills for your strikes. Okay, so you know when that punch is coming in, right? So that when that punch is coming in, boom, boom, you can train yourself to be able to block, counter strike right to the ribs. Okay, and then from here, boom, boom, right, boom, right. So it does give you a better way of being able to visualize what your opponent will be able to do, and it gives you a little bit better of a training aid, in that now instead of just something that I can kick or punch at, it's actually something that I can grab and practice getting used to the entry part of it. Okay, so something else that you got to understand about this, and I've gone into this a little bit, but there's 7 lines of the body that if you impact them, or 7 major joints, if you will, or the major joints of the body, if you impact them, you will cause things to happen. Okay, so if I control the neck, I'm going to control the body, because where the head goes, the body will follow. Likewise, if I control the shoulders, okay, if I control the elbows, if I control the wrists, if I control the hips, if I control the knees or the ankles. So when you're coming in for your entry techniques, what you're wanting to do is you're wanting your technique to impact each one of those areas. This is not going to go into a full-blown judo tutorial, although it could very easily, but the idea is you want to impact each one of those 7 joints in a different way throughout your workout. So find a few techniques that work for you for each line, and then drill them and 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 drill them. Okay, got the point. Alright, but with this type of a method, it really helps you train your grappling, and it really gets you used to, you know, being able to grab a hold of your opponent and come in for a technique, which is what 9 times out of 10 is what you're wanting to do. Okay. the minute something happens, your grip and your ability to attack and enter into a technique is what is going to be one of the biggest deciding factors on who wins that altercation, especially that self-defense scenario. So when my opponent throws that punch, the fact that I'm able to block, grab, strike to the elbow joint, strike to the head, I've already won this situation at this point. Okay? Now if I want to, I can really put some power into that, strike to the elbow joint, and it's going to have the obvious effects. By the same token, if it's a different situation, I can simply use that elbow joint to control my opponent, pull back on that wrist, and now it's turned into a come-along technique and a controlling technique. So in the battlefield or in a military situation, I may go ahead and strike it, because that's not a lock at that point, it's a break, because I'm wanting to break that on. Although at the same time, if I'm in a different situation, maybe I don't want to strike. Maybe I just want to use that as a control. Okay? So, in a military situation, right, I'm going to finish here. Maybe I don't want to finish here though. But the idea is, with this technique, it allows me to train multiple levels in my scenario. So, anyway, thanks guys.
I appreciate your comments, I appreciate your views, I appreciate your time. Defend your homes wisely.